This video will demonstrate creating a tubular cast-on edge using a provisional cast-on, and that uses waste yarn. The provisional cast-on of choice that I'm using is a crochet chain cast-on. So I have chosen some smooth cotton yarn. I have used a size H hook, and I have chained 15 chains. At the end of the chain, I just kind of elongated the last chain, and I put a little knot in this yarn so that I know that that's the side that I can start to unravel it from, because I will be unraveling it later. I'm going to make a swatch of 20 stitches, and I'm going to use a size 7 needle for a single rib fabric. So since I'm using a size 7 needle for my single rib fabric, I need to drop down sizes in order to use for my tubular cast on. I'm going down to a size 5. You might find that you have to go down even more than that, smaller than that, to get a nice edge on the bottom that's not too large, but we're going to start with a size 5 needle for this demonstration. So I take one of my needles, I pick up my provisional chain. As you see on the front, you can see the chains. It's a loosely chained chain. When you turn it over, you should be able to identify bumps on the back of the chain. Here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. You want to keep the chain face down so that you can find those bumps as you start to pick up those stitches. The reason I chained on 15 is because the rule of thumb is you chain on half the number of stitches that you want plus one plus a few extra. So I want a 20 stitch swatch. I'm chaining on 10 plus 1 plus a few extra gave me 15. I'm going to use my swatch yarn, and I'm going to pick up stitches through the bumps of the back of this chain. I'm going to go into the bump, wrap my yarn around, and pull it through, and that'll be one stitch. Then I'm going to perform a yarn over. I'm just going to lay the yarn on top of my needle. I'll find the next bump, go in and knit it, perform a yarn over, find the next bump and knit it, perform a yarn over, find the next bump and knit it, make a yarn over, find the next bump and knit it. So I go all the way across until I get this number of stitches that I need. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need a yarn over next, that's 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and my 20th stitch would be a yarn over, which is not going to work for this application. So I'm going to perform another yarn over, and I'm going to finish it up by going into another bump. However, that will give me 21 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21. And I only want 20. So on the next row, as I turn my work over, I'm going to work 2 stitches together at the beginning of this next row. I'm going to change to a different color yarn so that you can see the next action. The next action is to work several passes of double knitting, still with the smaller needle. Now, double knitting is a way of making a tubular fabric. You only work half of the stitches on each side. So I'm going to work some stitches, work every other stitch, and slip every other stitch on this side. And as I go back on the other side, I will work the opposing stitches. You'll see as we go. First, I have to get rid of an extra stitch. So I'm going to knit these 2 stitches together. little bit tight. I'll loosen them up just a little bit so I can get my needle in there. And I'm going to start my next yarn, join my yarn. Okay, so I knit the first stitch. I'm going to slip the next stitch as if to purl. I'm going to bring my yarn in the front, slip it as if to purl. Now I'm going to take my yarn to the back and knit the next stitch. If you notice, this is one of the yarn overs that I put on the last row. So I'm going to knit the yarn overs, bring the yarn to the front, and slip what would look like a purl stitch. You can see the bump in front. It presents itself as a purl. So I'm going to bring my yarn in the front and I'll slip it. Take my yarn to the back and knit the yarn over, bring my yarn to the front and slip the purl. Take my yarn to the back and knit the yarn over, bring my yarn to the front and slip the purl. Take my yarn to the back and knit the yarn over, bring my yarn to the front and slip the purl. So you can see the action is knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip the last stitch. Now if you look here, you could see that I only worked every other stitch, all the knit stitches. Now when I turn my work over, I'm going to knit the other stitches, which are white, and I'm going to knit them and I'll slip the blue or the purls. So it's the same action on every pass. Knit, bring your yarn to the front and slip the purl. Take your yarn to the back and knit the stitch. Bring your yarn to the front and slip the purl. Take your yarn to the back and knit the stitch. Bring your yarn to the front and slip the purl. Take your yarn to the back and knit the stitch. Bring your yarn to the front and slip the purl. So you can get in a rhythm. Knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip. Now every stitch has been worked, and you can see how my original yarn over and picking up the bumps yarn looks. All right, I would do like 4 more passes of this, so I'll have several rows of double knitting. Remember, every time you work 2 sides, you've worked 1 complete row of double knitting. So I'm going to work another pass, and then I'll come back and we'll see what it looks like, and we'll remove our waste yarn. All right, so I've worked 3 complete rows of double knitting. 1, 2, 3. That means I've worked on each side 3 times, actually 6 passes. Now, and I also worked 2 rows of single rib with my original color, so you can see how that looks. Now I'm ready to pull out my waste yarn. So there is my knot here that I put in. There's my elongated chain, and if I did this correctly, I should be able to just unravel this. And you see how it's the waste yarn is actually stuck in there because there's a tube there. As you pull it out, there you have your tubular edge. You can see what you're with this waste yarn here, not waste yarn, with this one color here. what the bottom stitch looks like. Looks like knit stitches, rounded, the same on both sides. So that's your tubular cast on edge. Looks very nice.